What's up, vinyl community? It's Steve from Steve Spins Records, and today we're going to look at the February 2019 Tone Poet release, Wayne Shorter's Etcetera. So Wayne Shorter, this was his 8th album called Etcetera. There you have the very iconic ETC on the front, along with Wayne Shorter on the bottom. It's got the band list on there as well. You got Wayne Shorter on saxophone, Herbie Hancock on piano, Cecil McBee on bass, and Joe Chambers on drums. This was originally recorded in 1965 at Van Gelder Studios in New Jersey by Blue Note, but wasn't released until 1980. Now you're saying, wonder why that is. As it turns out, Wayne Shorter was everywhere in 1965. He had just started playing in the Miles Davis Quintet. He was on a lot and composing a lot. He had just come off working with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, and he was prolific, let's say, in the time period. And Blue Note, their idea was, hey, we've already released 2 Wayne Shorter albums this year, so how, maybe we want to hold on to the third just so we don't saturate the market with Wayne Shorter's work. Now, when you think about that in the modern era, probably would do the same thing, right? You don't want to oversaturate the market, even though this is an amazing album with amazing tracks on it. You don't want to overdo it, shall we say. So it wasn't released until 1980. And on the track listing, speaking of that, side 1, you've got Etcetera, Penelope, and Toy Tune, which are all composed by Wayne Shorter. Then on side 2, you got Barracudas, which is originally written by Gil Evans for a large ensemble, and then Wayne Shorter took it into a quintet of just him and these other 3 musicians on here. And then the most outstanding, the highlight track on this album is Indian Song, but we'll get into that in a minute. It's a Tone Poet, so it's very nice, very well done. Cardboard, heavy-duty cardboard on the cover. Inside, you've got a great picture of Wayne Shorter there on the left. Then you've got the rest of Wayne Shorter and the rest of the band as well. A very young Herbie Hancock. We'll try to zoom in on that just so you can see young Herbie there. You got Joe Chambers down here and Cecil McBee on bass right there. On the back, again, very nicely done. Clear track listings, a nice write-up about the album and the production credits as well. Recorded June 14, 1965 at Van Gelder Studios, produced by Alfred Lyon. LP mastering was done by Kevin Gray at Coherent Mastering, and the supervision was by Joe Harley with all of the other Tone Poets that were coming out. So I was fortunate enough to pick this up in, I want to say, mid-2020, right kind of in the middle of the pandemic when I had just figured out what a Tone Poet was, and I was like, oh, this could be interesting. Let me check this one out. Kind of took a flyer on it, actually, but I'm really, really glad I did because Wayne Shorter is a true jazz legend. He should be in the pantheon with the Miles Davises, the John Coltrane's, the Herbie Hancocks, the Dave Brubecks of the world for his impact on jazz music. In particular, his impact on jazz music during the mid-1960s when he was just so prolific in everything that he was doing. So would highly, highly, highly recommend you check out some of Wayne Shorter's albums that are out there. I am really excited for the Tone Poet release of All Seeing Eye next month from Wayne Shorter, and I think they already put out the See No Evil. It was something like that. I think already came out as a Blue Note reissue, which again is already fetching beaucoup dollars. So if you're into Wayne Shorter, if you're into hard bop jazz, be sure to be aware of the Wayne Shorter that was coming out. Another interesting fact, in February of 2019, the other Tone Poet that came out alongside this was Chick Corea. He sings, he sobs. Now he sings, now he sobs. Which, again, was another really, really great record that I wish I had snagged up at the time, but I did not. I only got the Wayne Shorter, but that's perfectly good. So, again, on side 1, you've got Etcetera. Very high energy, very nice to kick off the album. Then you get into more of a dreamy, pensive, airy song called Penelope. And then you end with something called Toy Tune, which, again, picks up a little bit. You can really hear the crispness of Joe Chambers' drumming on this. I think as with a lot of the Tone Poets, most of the instrument mixing, I think, does very well for the saxophones and the bass. But oftentimes the thing that Tone Poets really, really do well is the drums. So the drums are super crisp on this, and they really help to show how precise the musicians were And of course, Herbie Hancock on piano also sounds wonderful, but I think you can get a lot of nice instrumentation on a typical jazz record, but the drums and to some extent the bass are what gets lost typically in jazz records. So beyond that, I'm trying to think of other fun facts about this record. It's been called overlooked, which I think is another joy of the Tone Poet series, is they're able to dive into their catalog and find the records that not enough people have listened to, not enough people know about, give them a proper mixing treatment, give them the attention and spotlight that they deserve in their Tone Poet releases that they come out with, and then bring them to the public, bring them to the enthusiasts, the people that are going to like this stuff. So in terms of who's going to like this music, again, if you're into jazz music at all, be sure to check this out. If you're into playing music, I think if you're into piano or saxophone in particular, some of the solos on this are just killer. Really great stuff, especially on Indian songs. So when you listen to the final track of the album, be sure to listen to the Wayne Shorter solo. Then it goes into Herbie Hancock, and then Cecil McBee actually gets a solo on bass. So again, a really nice culmination of the band working together. And I think that's something that's interesting about these records that a lot of the Tone Poets have, is you'll see the same musicians playing in different people's bands and arrangements and things like that. So there's definitely a sense of camaraderie that was happening with these musicians, and when they really gel together, you can tell. So I think this was one of the instances where they really gelled together, and it shows. So it's great. Yeah, if you're on the fence, if you can find this at a reasonable price, Discogs has it, I think, for $35.96. It is 43 minutes and 13 seconds long, so you're paying a bit of a premium at about 84 cents a minute for the vinyl. And, with that in mind, is it worth it? It retailed for $35, right? So it was already expensive to begin with. You get the high quality package. You get the very excellent pressing, 180 gram Blue Note label. Very quiet, sounds amazing. So you have to keep that in mind when you're thinking about these Tone Poets and whether or not you want to shell out the cash for them. And I think it's interesting because maybe I've been a bit spoiled by the Tone Poets. Is when I think about jazz records, I feel like they should cost somewhere between $25 and $35. There's probably the older vinyl collectors out there saying, that's insane, man. They are definitely more expensive than that. So it's been really nice. I've been really spoiled by the Tone Poet and the Blue Note reissue series, bringing a lot of great music at an accessible price to new vinyl collectors out there. So thank you very much to the Blue Note folks for doing that. Thank you for putting these records into print and then making sure that, if you want them, you can get them. I think when Tone Poets come out, they're around for a while. So be sure to snag up any Tone Poet releases that you see, as you can get them at retail for, a month or a couple months even after they are released. So with that in mind, definitely looking forward to the next Wayne Shorter Tone Poet release that's happening in September of 2021. So very excited for that. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. I would appreciate it if you could like the video. It helps me rise up the YouTube algorithms. And if you like the content, consider subscribing. We try to do all of our vinyl reviews in one take for the challenge and to make it flow a little bit nicer. So I appreciate you watching. Be sure to subscribe if you like this type of content, and we can go from there. So that's really it. Wayne Shorter's Etcetera. Would buy, would recommend. If you like jazz music, killer sounding. See if you can find a reasonable price on Discogs if it's something that you're interested in. Be sure to check it out on Spotify, of course, before you make the leap. And if you don't buy the record, be sure to at least check out Spotify so that you can listen to Indian Song, the last track on this, because it's just a great jazz composition. So again, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I'm Steve from Steve Spins Records, signing off.